what actually happens when an entire civilization collapses? At first, The Walking Dead seems to offer a simple answer: chaos, violence, looting. A world where only the strongest survive. But the longer it goes, the less it's about zombies and more it's about people. Because it reveals something unexpected. Not just how order disappears, but how new order emerges. And that's why the most important concept in the series isn't anarchy, it is anomie. When the survivor leaves the hospital, the old world is gone. The government is gone, the police is gone. The courts no longer function. Property is no longer protected. Nobody knows which rules still apply. This is what anomie describes, not simply the absence of a state, but the absence of a commonly accepted social order. People no longer know who they can trust, which rules apply, or what consequences their actions will have tomorrow. The real problem isn't the absence of government, it's the absence of predictable expectations. And yet, something fascinating happens immediately. Nobody waits for the government to come back. People act, searching for food, water, weapons, medicine, their families, safety. This is the core insight of praxeology. Human beings always act purposefully, even when every institution disappears. And so something new emerged always at once, not perfect order, but coordination. People come together and divide responsibilities. Someone hunts, someone builds fences, someone treats the injured, someone repairs generators. The division of labor doesn't emerge from laws, it emerged because cooperation is more productive than isolation. With every season, the survivor changes, more suspicious, harder, sometimes brutal, not because his morals changed, but because his environment did. Imagine 5 armed strangers suddenly at your gate, traitors or murderers you don't know. Today, institutions absorb part of that uncertainty: police, courts, insurance, identification. In the apocalypse, none of that exists. He operates under radical uncertainty, where a single wrong decision could wipe out this entire community. Not just him, but his children, his friends, his home. Many believe that without a functioning state there are no consequences anymore. The opposite happens. Consequences become immediate. If someone steals your car today, the police eventually deal with it. Here, nobody's coming. So, every community must respond for itself. Retaliation, exclusion, blood feuds, loss of trust, or death. Violence doesn't disappear, but it becomes incredibly expensive. Every bullet has a cost. Every injury has a cost. And every war has a cost. And that's exactly why permanent violence can never create a stable order. After a while, the same thing happens everywhere. People build houses, cultivate fields, repair machines, store supplies, trade with one another. But why? Because property returns, not first as law, but as an expectation. Why spend months cultivating a field if anyone could take everything tomorrow? Capital can only emerge where people expect to benefit tomorrow from the work they do today. That's why successful communities develop rules, not out of idealism, but because otherwise investment simply wouldn't make sense. Then the Warlord arrives. Many see him as proof that, in the end, the strongest always wins. But in reality, he creates something history knows very well: a monopoly on violence. He decides punishments, collects tribute, sets the rules, promises protection. Of course it's brutal, of course it's authoritarian, but economically this is not a world without order, it's a new political order. Here's the surprising part. This isn't a unique story. Again and again through history, social orders collapsed, and again, people created new ones. Medieval trading networks built their own courts. Free cities organized security and commerce themselves. International companies today resolve many disputes through private arbitration. Even modern residential communities and business parks rely on private security and management. Very different examples, but all the same mechanism. People rarely wait for order to arrive from outside. They begin creating rules themselves, because cooperation is more productive than permanent chaos. The real lesson isn't that anarchy works, nor that states are unnecessary. It's this: order does not begin with institutions. Institutions emerge because people need order. People act. They cooperate. They trade. They protect property. They develop rules. And only later do courts, communities, and sometimes even states emerge. Maybe that's why we've misunderstood The Walking Dead all these years. It isn't a story about how civilization ends. It's a story about how civilization begins again.